episode of Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando, and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
Very exciting Raw, since it was going to be the Raw reunion. Obviously, a lot of the legends were going to be coming back, and it's always great to see the legends.
Yeah, great to see the superstars that paved the way, and you get to see a lot of great encounters that you saw from the past and now from the future.
Exactly. A lot of dream matches for sure could potentially happen tonight on Raw, but let's get started. None other than the return of John Cena. He opens up Raw. I was very, very surprised to see Cena back because I really wasn't expecting him back at the reunion. And as we do know, he is moved on to making movies, so his appearances in WWE are very limited nowadays.
Yeah, very surprised. I agree with you. I wasn't expecting to see him, but again, it's a Raw reunion, so anything could happen. A lot of surprises.
And he made it very clear that when he's part of the reunion, and it took part for him to be part of the reunion, for people to like him, for people to cheer him, because, you know, he comes out and people usually boo him because I guess now I consider it a sign of respect because he's been that good and he's paved the way for so many superstars that whenever he comes out he gets booed. But now, today, he said, I had to be a part of the Raw reunion for you guys to finally like me.
Yeah, and I feel like because he's been out of the ring, out of action, and we don't see him as much anymore, people miss him, and they showed him love in Tampa.
And he did make it very clear that this is his home, not only in WWE, but outside of WWE, because he resides and lives in Tampa, Florida. But the Usos decided to interrupt, and wow, they decided to make it an even more lit reunion, as they've made it seem.
Yeah, so the Usos decided to come out and they say, you know what, we want to see the Doctor of Thugonomics. We want to see that John Cena that we grew up seeing.
Exactly, and they call him out, you know. They start mentioning how he left the WWE to go make movies, how he's a Hollywood star now, and that's something that really set Cena off. And what does he do? He throws a little rhymes against the Usos, and it was probably one of the most epic moments in a while, simply because when do you ever get to see that type of encounter?
Yeah, you don't, only at the Raw reunions.
Exactly, and the Usos decide to bring out none other than their dad, Rikishi, out. Very interesting, again, another legend who paved the way, and also Rikishi, their father.
Yeah, and I also expected the Usos with their dad, Rikishi, to throw some dance moves in it, but we didn't get to see that tonight.
Yeah, we didn't get to see it, unfortunately, because the Revival decided they wanted to interrupt this type of celebration that Cena, the Usos, and Rikishi were having inside the ring. But they did not come alone. Armando, who did they bring?
They decided to bring Devon Dudley.
Devon Dudley. Very interesting choice, if you ask me.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of similarities between Devon and the Revival. They're just super aggressive, focused, and not other than have a great tag team legend like Devon on their corner.
Yes, 100% agree with you on that one. Coming out with Devon Dudley, and obviously the Usos having their father Rikishi at ringside, that leads into a match, the Usos with their father Rikishi versus the Revival with Devon Dudley in their corner.
Keep in mind the Revival has gotten the Usos number up until now, but we did see a different Revival. I didn't see a Revival that was focused like they were in the past match that we saw against the Usos. I feel that they were focusing too much on the legends.
I don't know if I agree with you on that one, because I feel like in this particular match, the Revival gave the Usos zero chance. And I think ever since they won the championships and ever since they realized, okay, our biggest competition is going to be the Usos, how do we take them out? I feel like they've really capitalized on that and really elevated the tag team division. And not only that, but they elevated their arsenal. And every single thing the Uso has, they have something to go against.
Yeah, they did elevate their game against the Usos, and like I said, they have the number on them. But if you really analyze the match, the Revival was trying to make a statement to Rikishi, and they would keep looking at him, they would keep pointing at him, and I felt that was a little distraction. And at the end of the day, that's what ended up causing them the match. They were too distracted with Devon Dudley, what was happening outside, that they let their guard down, and the Usos were able to get the victory.
100% do agree with that perspective of your view simply because they did focus a little too much on what was going on outside, and I feel like if they wouldn't have been there, it would have been a different story against the Usos. And the Usos obviously capitalized. They took advantage of an opportunity and of the opportunity that they had, and therefore they were able to be victorious. And I mean, I guess they made Rikishi proud, if you ask me.
Definitely, yep.
Okay, moving on to Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander. Obviously, the purpose of this match was because last week Drew McIntyre lost to Cedric Alexander, and he was really upset about it, and he wanted to show Alexander that he is the most dominant force in the WWE and that he's not somebody you can just beat.
So Drew McIntyre doesn't waste any time and immediately goes after Cedric Alexander without wasting any time before the bell rings and brutally attacks him.
Yeah, I feel like he really didn't give Alexander any opportunity, but I do feel like the little openings that he did give Alexander was able to prove a point. He was able to see, you know what, I'm part of the main roster now. Yes, I did come from 205 Live, but I am ready for competition, and I can take on the best of the best in this business.
And you gotta admit, Cedric Alexander did steal one last week from McIntyre.
Yeah, he did, and I mean that I understand why Drew McIntyre was upset, because he stole it. You know, he took advantage of an opportunity. He saw an opening, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to capitalize on this. And that's something Drew McIntyre I don't think handles very, very well. I think that's one of his weaknesses.
Yeah, anger issues, and that he's doesn't reflect on a loss to improve himself.
Exactly. But he definitely redeemed himself. In this time, he proved something to Cedric Alexander, and now anybody that wants to pull a fast one on Drew McIntyre will have to think twice about it, because he's a very dangerous competitor, and when he's in that state of mind, there's no one that can stop him. Okay, moving on to the Viking Raiders versus Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. They're facing the former tag champs, so obviously the Viking Raiders winning this match would pretty much put them on the map. What better way to make a name for yourself than to beat the former tag champions?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen the Viking Raiders these past couple of weeks. They've just been dominating the competition, and what better way to do it than make a statement, like you said, against the former current Raw Tag Team Champions, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder.
Yeah, and honestly, if you really analyze and really take into consideration who the Viking Raiders are, they could have ended this in like 30 seconds if they really wanted to, but they didn't. They decided not to do that, and I think that's part of them really wanting to prove their point and really trying to prove this is who we are and this is how dangerous we are going to be, and we are going to dominate the tag division how we want.
No doubt the Viking Raiders are extremely dominant, but if they keep playing around with the tag team like they are, eventually it's going to come down and haunt them. But yet again, like I said, these guys are elevating the tag team division in Raw.
And you really have to give it to Curtis Axel and Zack Ryder. I mean, they went from being two singles competitors who hardly got any time to being the tag team champions to now putting over talent like the Viking Raiders. That's impressive, and I'm very impressed with not only what they've done, but what they're going to continue to do. Trust me, they're going to do great things. Okay, moving on to one of the most intense superstars we have in the WWE today. And he's definitely not happy. He comes out and he pretty much starts talking about how because we are celebrating all the legends today on the Raw reunion, he's not going to get a match. And he's mad about it, and he's like, instead we got the Usos and Rikishi, and that's pretty much taking a shot at the entire Anoa'i family, right? And so Roman Reigns comes out and he's like, well, if you have something to say, why don't you just say it? And he's like, I already did, you know, and he makes it very clear. And they go on to get into a little argument, and Reigns tells him, well, you know what, we're both from the same island. Why are you a coward? Like, come fight me, basically. He calls him out, and Joe gets really upset, and it leads into a little brawl, and then it leads into a match. And this is where it gets interesting, because I think a match of this caliber should be in a top caliber show, but given the fact that it is Raw and it's a special show, I see why they put it here.
Yeah, and obviously Samoa Joe decides tries to take the advantage of Roman Reigns by, he had, like you said, he had already faced each other in the brawl, and he pretty much tries to make a statement out of it.
Well, yeah, because he took out Roman Reigns before the match even started, so he gave himself an advantage, and we already know he's the ultimate opportunist. Armando has said this time and time again in different podcasts, and I think any advantage that he can take, he's definitely going to use that. And Roman Reigns, obviously, he was upset because Samoa Joe mentioned his family. He got under his skin, and I don't blame Roman Reigns for coming out there and trying to defend the honor of his family.
Yeah, and then Samoa Joe was trying to end the match quickly because he knew the longer it went, the more it favored Roman Reigns. We all seen Roman Reigns come back from some amazing matches and some incredible wins. So the longer it went, it was going to favor Roman Reigns.
Exactly, and he wasn't wrong at all. I don't blame him. I think they're both some amazing competitors, and I think at the end of the day, Roman Reigns held his ground against Samoa Joe. He really did give him a fight, and I think Roman is one of the very few that can match the power of Samoa Joe. And I think that is something he can use to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what Samoa Joe could do in the ring for a guy his size, and the way he moves is just super amazing.
100%. Alright, moving on to Miss TV with the special guest, none other than the former Universal Champion, Seth Rollins. So, Seth doesn't want to make this about Brock. He really doesn't. He wants to make it about the legends and how we're celebrating them. But he does take a shot at Brock Lesnar. Let's put it that way. Because he says he doesn't want to be Brock Lesnar, and he would never want to be Brock Lesnar. And at that point, he triggers Paul Heyman. Because Paul Heyman comes out to defend none other than Brock Lesnar, and Seth Rollins has had it at this point. He is like, you know what, why don't you just stop talking? Why can't you walk the walk for Brock Lesnar? And he pretty much tells him, I will come down there and I will beat you. That's what he tells him. And Heyman at this point is like, no, I want nothing to do with that. I mean, come on. Heyman isn't a wrestler. We know that. But I can't blame Seth Rollins. He's upset, he's mad, and he doesn't like the way he lost the championship.
But not only that he's mad and he's upset, but he also knows that the only way to get to Brock Lesnar is through Paul Heyman. And if he knows that if he lays a finger on Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar's going to come out and face Seth Rollins.
100%. I think that's part of his plan, but I also feel like Heyman has something up his sleeve. He's a very smart guy, and he knows exactly how to get under the skin of Seth Rollins, and I think he's going to continue to do that. And Heyman makes a very important point. He's like, well, you're upset because you lost the championship because Brock cashed in on you, but yet you cashed in at WrestleMania 31 against Brock Lesnar. So it kind of came for full circle at this point, and he mentions that, and Seth is like, well, you know what, I am not Brock Lesnar, and it took him 4 years to finally defeat me when Seth Rollins did it in, split second. But interesting to see. I'm excited to see what the future holds for Seth Rollins, because to be honest with you, I don't see him defeating Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam.
I don't see him neither, but it's going to be one of the great matches because, we get to see it at WrestleMania, but we didn't see it at the full potential. And I think that we'll see it at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I definitely do think we'll see Seth go up against the Beast in an actual match this time. I just don't believe he can physically defeat him.
Physically, no, but in ring-wise, he could compete with Brock Lesnar.
He definitely can. Okay, moving on to Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn. Rey Mysterio and Sami Zayn ends up happening because Sami insulted the legends. He doesn't feel like they belong there. He doesn't feel like they should be there. And Rey is like, well, you know what? You should learn how to respect the people that paved the way for you. So that's why this match is happening.
Yeah, and Kurt Angle's like, you know what? If you guys have differences, you guys go settle it down in the ring.
Yes, and Sami Zayn was very focused through the beginning of this match. I really thought he was going to be able to defeat Rey Mysterio, but then Rey had an advantage. He had some of the legends like RVD, Kurt Angle, and a few others come out and cause a distraction, and therefore he was able to capitalize and take advantage of that opportunity to be able to defeat Sami Zayn.
But keep in mind, once Rey Mysterio started dominating the match with his quick pace and was about to execute the 619. Sami Zayn was like, you know what? Typical of him, decides to pretty much walk out of the match, and that's when the Legends came out and pretty much were like, nope, you're getting back in the ring.
Yep. He deserved it. He really did. I have to give props to the Legends for coming out and putting Sami Zayn in his place.
And Rey Mysterio with the Frog Splash was able to capitalize and get the win over Sami Zayn.
Yes, 100%. Alright, moving on to AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins. Another match that belongs at a WrestleMania, that belongs at a SummerSlam, that belongs at a Royal Rumble. Well, you know, one of those big fours.
Yeah, and then we've seen Seth Rollins. You know, he's pretty much upset. He's focused, though, on what he wants and targeting Brock Lesnar. But I also like this AJ style. This is a different AJ style that's more meaner, more angrier. And keep in mind, he's got the club on his side, which makes him even more dangerous.
Now known as the OC. Very, very interesting. I agree with you on that one, though. This is definitely a different AJ Styles. An AJ we've never seen. I don't even think we've seen this AJ with Samoa Joe. This AJ is a lot more focused, a lot more determined, and he is ready to take what belongs to him.
And he's also more confident, like I said, because he's got some serious backup. He's got the original club behind him, and if I had that backup, I probably wouldn't be as confident as him.
Yep. And one of the things that makes this match so amazing is that they're both so evenly matched, athletic-wise and speed-wise. They both pretty much coexist, and this is where creativity comes into play, because it's not that they know each other super, super well, but it's the fact that their wrestling styles are just about the same. So they're going to have to come up with ways to out-wrestle each other, to outperform each other in order to be able to deliver the match of this caliber.
Yeah, the surprise factor between both of the superstars is what was going to make the difference in this match, no doubt about it.
And we got to see something very interesting in this match. Obviously, Seth Rollins had the odds against him. Not only does he have to focus on AJ Styles and the OC, but he has to focus on Brock Lesnar. Again, he has a target on his back and doesn't know when Brock is going to come after him. And even if Brock is champion, Brock likes to come back and make statements. He likes to prove people wrong. And so that's something that Seth Rollins has to worry about. But what AJ Styles and the OC did not realize was that Seth Rollins also had backup. He had DX.
Exactly, and we saw DX come out as soon as the original club OC decided to get involved in the match. So Seth Rollins was vulnerable, and who decides to come out? Like you said, DX, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels.
Yes, and we also got to see Road Dogg and pretty much the OGs, and they made sure that match went fairly for the rest of the time.
One thing that really caught my attention was that AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels were kind of just trash talking each other. And like I said, that's one of my dream matches that I would like to see. You'll have Shawn Michaels, which is the greatest performer, against pretty much one of the best wrestlers in the world. I mean, that's something that I would like to see. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Let us know what you guys think.
That would definitely be a show stealer. That's a match I would pay a lot of money to see, because if you really put it into perspective, how many times in your life do you actually get to see a match like that?
Pretty much never. And not only that, but you have two of the greatest wrestlers of their generation.
Exactly. Coming face to face, that is a dream match for sure, and a high caliber match. I would like to see it, but again, I respect Shawn Michaels' wishes, and if he doesn't want to come back to the ring, then that's on him. I completely respect that. But definitely, DX evened out the odds, and they pretty much laid out the entire club, and it's going to be interesting to see how AJ Styles retaliates next week on Raw. Okay, moving on to Mick Foley, who pretty much says we're 3 weeks away from SummerSlam, which we are very excited for that. The hottest event of the summer. So we'll get our predictions to you guys on that very, very soon. And he says that 2 months ago he introduced the 24/7 championship, and he wants to obviously become champion and wants to leave tonight as champion. So interesting. I guess we'll end up finding out if he does become champion. He also says he picked out a favorite moment, and they show that, and then the lights cut out, lights go out, and Bray Wyatt comes out, and he pretty much attacks Mick Foley.
Yeah, what a great way for Bray Wyatt to make a statement other than on a legend.
Yes, very interesting. I'm excited to see this Bray Wyatt. I predicted a couple months ago the split personalities. That's something I definitely want to see. See if they actually play it correctly. To Alexa Bliss with Nikki Cross in a moment of bliss with special guest star WWE Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch.
And I was excited to see what Becky Lynch had to say on what Natty had told her last week. And that was some very strong words that Natty said last week to Becky's face.
Definitely, and well, before she can really even say anything, Natty comes out and she's ready for a fight, you know. She's ready to show Becky Lynch why she is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And she has this thing. I don't know what it is, but she is able to get under the skin of Becky Lynch. Like, I have never seen anybody other than Charlotte Flair be able to get under the skin of Becky Lynch as much as Natty can.
Yeah, you do have a point on that one, but also you gotta admit that this is probably one of Becky's top matches because she's gonna face a legend like Natty, and she could bring so much to the table with her.
I agree with you on that one. There's so much any performer or any woman can pretty much do with Natty, and I think Natty is really gonna bring this match to a whole new level. Not because Becky isn't great. Becky's great, don't get me wrong. But I feel like she's facing someone of the caliber of Natty. You can put Natty with anybody you want. With Alicia, with Dana, and she will make them look absolutely fantastic. And now her being able to wrestle somebody like Becky Lynch, who's already an elite wrestler, this is going to be a killer match. It's probably going to be the most talked about match of SummerSlam, for the women at least.
Not only a killer match, but she's facing a legend. A legend that's pretty much there to, like you said, bring up and develop the superstars.
You know, Becky makes a very important point because she's like, I thought we were friends, you know, I respected you, I looked up to you, and then you trained Ronda Rousey, and that really gets under the skin of Becky Lynch. She really does not like that, and I think it comes from betrayal. I think she just feels betrayed from Natty.
I don't think it's betrayal from Natty. I think just Natty is there to willing to teach everybody because she loves the business.
Well, yeah, but why would Becky Lynch bring that up if it wasn't, you know, if it didn't bother her? Because you can say the same thing about Charlotte. Charlotte is one of those women that cares about the business and will put any talent over. But she was best friends with Becky Lynch, and I would understand why Becky would get mad in that scenario. You know what I mean?
I feel that Becky's trying to play the mind games with Natty, and it's really not working. But at the same time, you know, Natty's doing the same thing with Becky Lynch.
Yeah, and I think, as I've said it at the beginning, I think this is something that nobody has been able to do other than Charlotte. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays down at SummerSlam. Could we potentially see a new Raw Women's Champion?
Well, we'll see, because Natty has all the experience to get the job done.
She does.
You know, and she's able to bring this match on the mat and keep Becky down, I think she would be able to do it.
I think she can. I don't know. This is hard. I can see Natty winning, but at the same time, I see Becky Lynch retaining. I see her having probably one of the longest title reigns we've seen in a long, long time. If I were to pick somebody to dethrone Becky Lynch, she's not even here yet. So she's also one of our picks for the Rumble. So I won't say it now. I'll save it for a little later. You guys will probably find out at SummerSlam.
Yeah, but it's an evenly match, and you know, if anybody could do it in my book, I think it'll be Natty, just because, like I said, what she has done and what she has done throughout the years.
And I think Alexa really got into pushing their buttons. You know, I think she's really good at that, and she really executed that during the segment.
Yeah, and we see how much Natty and Becky Lynch, you know, don't like each other right now because they pretty much got into a little brawl.
Yeah, they make it very, very personal, and after that brawl, I definitely want to see what's next.
But what's going to help Natty out is that she's very intense, that she wants it, and she has the extra motivation because it's going to be in her home country in Canada.
Yes, and that is something Becky used to get under the skin of Natty. She's like, you know what, I will embarrass you and I will beat you in your home country and in your hometown. Very strong words by Becky Lynch. But speaking of the woman, I do want to mention something. Something historic happened during the Raw Reunion episode. None other than Kelly became the first 24/7 women's champion.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I did not see that happening. And she just, like I said, she sees the opportunity, and glad to see it that women could also win the 24/7 championship.
And not only did we see one woman, we saw 3 women win it. We saw Kelly, and I believe the second one was Candice Michelle. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. And then Alundra Blaze was the other one that actually got to win it. Where were you, Carmella? This was your opportunity. You've been chasing this championship forever. I feel like Carmella is the perfect candidate to hold it as of right now. But I'm glad they gave the Legends the opportunity to come back and, fight for the 24/7 championship. Okay, moving on to Braun Strowman versus pretty much a jobber. Goes out there, proves his point, dominates, completely destroys him, doesn't even give him an opportunity. That's the Monster Among Men we want to see, but with an actual wrestler, an actual competitor.
Yeah, he pretty much finished the match in like less than 5 minutes. He completely manhandled, the superstar that he faced.
Yeah, so it was crazy, and as I said, I think this is the Braun Strowman that we deserve. If you keep pushing that Braun Strowman, but put him up against a Roman Reigns, put him up against a Drew McIntyre, put him up against a Baron Corbin, then I think we'll really have a solid case when it comes to Braun Strowman.
And what we were waiting for was Stone Cold Steve Austin to come out and address the WWE Universe.
Yeah, so when he comes out, pretty much Ric Flair is there, DX is there, all the legends are pretty much standing at the stage, and he comes out to help celebrate and let everybody know that we are part of the WWE family.
Pretty much he's the one that got the party started.
Yep.
In the ring, and he was pretty much out there to toast and say how much he misses being in the ring and how everybody's his family.
Yep. Alright, well, that's all we have for you guys on this episode of Wrestling with Siblings. And speaking of family, join our family. We do have a Patreon. We are on YouTube. We are on iTunes. We are everywhere now. So become a part of this family. Subscribe, like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week on a new episode of Wrestling with Siblings. But before that, we do have to do our signature. For those of you that do not know what WWS stands for, I wonder what does WWS stand for?
Wrestling with Siblings. Thank you guys so much, and see you guys next time.